So, greetings everyone. My name is Iryna Manukovska, and this is Make Your Innovation Work. And today I host Manshi. She has an incredibly interesting background and experience, and basically she helps with career in a very unusual way. And today we're going to talk a lot about how careers ladders work today, especially during this AI time, transitioning time, disruption time, and all of this. And I pass my word to Manshi so she could introduce herself, tell her story, how he started to do this, and what's behind the Parfum agency.
Okay, thank you so much for having me, Iryna. I am the founder and CEO of the Parfum agency, and we help honest mid-career professionals reinvent their careers to the more meaningful. I had gone through my own soul-searching process of finding out what's next for my career. I just knew that what I was doing wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And the question of how do I go about figuring it out? So basically tried everything under the sun, books, podcasts, coaches, courses, everything under the sun. And throughout that journey, I learned a lot about clarity, about finding clarity. And that's what I do full time today, is to help people find clarity and to reinvent their careers so it's more rewarding, more satisfying, more meaningful.
And what's behind this idea of reinventing? I mean, it's about work-life balance, or because when we start our career, we're pretty ambitious. We want to change the world. We want to change ourselves. We want to change basically everything. And when we are in the middle of our career, we understand, okay, something maybe should not be changed, or is like foundation of ourselves. So it's mostly about work-life balance or finding new perspective or adjusting to, I don't know, career changes. What's behind this reinvention?
Yeah, the reinvention, I think it's very much about it's where we are in a point of our lives. It's that life stage or this moment in our lives where we start to reevaluate things because we are now parents, because now we've survived through COVID, because now we see a lot of changes in industries and what's happening in AI. So it becomes like the perfect storm. And some people call it a midlife crisis. I don't believe in that concept, in the sense that it's like a sort of a rite of passage. So during this moment, what you decide is going to set the stage for the next couple of years. Do you decide to stay where you are and remain unhappy, unsatisfied, feeling like you're not making impact, feeling like you're not using your talents and your capabilities? Or do you make a switch and do something that really fills your soul, that really brings joy to you, and really brings joy to people around you too?
Okay. And actually, the topic of our podcast was about career leaders and how they work today. So can we start to talk about this? I know you work a lot with different kind of professionals, techies, non-techies. You have an extensive background from yourself because you're also MIT engineer and now you're running a business in consultancies, like totally different vibe. So what kind of like trends you see? How actually career leaders work today with this remote work, with AI change and all of this?
Yeah, so it's very linear. So one of the things I would just say is career ladders are very linear, right? So you're either first you get placed based on your proven track record or your credentials, right? And then after a certain while, you will realize you either get promoted, like go for that promotion and move up into management, or you move laterally, or you stay put. And I think there is a lot of there's a lot of ambiguity and uncertainty too that's thrown in due to AI. The ways that we can work remotely now, the ways we can collaborate, the speed of how things can be done, the speed of being able to access certain information, like all of that is adding to another layer of complexity in terms of your choice in a career ladder. And when we start to realize that we don't want to chase that ladder, and we don't want to move up, we start to realize, oh, maybe there is not a lot of options, right? There's not a lot of options to do something else and something different. And that's when it's a good moment to step back and see what's your relationship with the career ladder. Do you want to keep climbing it or being around it, or do you want to go on a brand new path for yourself?
Sounds like a bold statement. I mean, it's not the easy question to answer to yourself, to be honest, especially when you're in mid-career and you have obligations and maybe family or some kind of like dependence, or you're a caregiver because your parents become a little bit older and become faster than you expected. And what kind of strategies can be used here for this successful transition? For example, I'm mid-career professional. I understand, okay, I don't want to chase for this career ladder because I see there are a lot of opportunities and some of them are out of my current experience. So I have my own achievements, but I understand, okay, I need to have some kind of like a fresh start. So what kind of strategies could be useful here?
Yeah, so I would say it's a lot about understanding how you want to build your career. Number one, first and foremost, do you want a career that just pays the bills, or you want a career that pays the bills and match your values and your talents? So first thing I would recommend is to understand how you operate. Because when you understand your basic operating system, it's easier to accept your vulnerabilities as well as your strengths. And that puts you in a position of power. So instead of being helpless, overwhelmed, FOMO, you start stepping into your power. And for example, it's a lot about going inwards and doing the interior work first, so you know you're taking the right actions that put you on the right path, versus being scattershot and trying a bit of everything and trying to fit everyone's advice into your head and then figure out the best path out. Number
So
two is,
basically,
yeah,
mhm. No, sorry. It's connectivity problem. I thought maybe it's like you stopped to answer the question. Sorry.
no worries. And number two is to recognize what you bring to the table. So when you know your talents and your opportunities, it gives you more flexibility and it helps to decrease anxiety and stress. So for this, for example, I use a tool that I created called a talent interest map. And it basically tells a story of who you are and what you uniquely bring to the table. When I was doing my soul searching, it lasted about 4 years. I struggled to express what my capabilities and my talents are. Like, where do my interests fit in this? Where do I showcase my right brain creativity? Where do I showcase the strengths of my introverted side? So this talent interest map pulls all of that together and shows this in layers. So it's a way of connecting your intrinsic motivation, that burst of energy that you get, with your multisensory experiences of how you experience life and work and joy and satisfaction with your talents. So it's kind of a funneling everything onto one piece of paper. So as I mentioned, one is really to understand how you operate, to recognize what you bring to the table. So that's your talents, but also your interests and how you're driven. And three is to learn new ways to create opportunities for yourself. So a lot of times we are kind of trained to be official about things. We want to wait and see and just see what knocks on our door and or what kind of job openings there are, but really go into a creator mode instead. I really, really recommend it. It's so much more rewarding. So learning to create, so you're building trust, and learning to create, so you're building your own authority in that new field or the new space you want to go into. And it's as much as about being authentic as about doing.
And one question here. it obviously demands stamina and some kind of like courage to change, like Sia sang in her song, and some kind of like daredevil inside. So, mm, how to support yourself during this kind of journey? Because it can take years. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on which kind of shift you would like to make. So, how to support yourself? How to actually decrease this level of stress, anxiety, and uncertainty? Because you need to be guided with some kind of like very abstract North Star here.
Yeah. So there are two key things. So every one of us, we are fueled by something. So we are either fueled by our ambition, right? Or we're filled with creativity. We want to create a solution. We want to build something, that creativity, that creative juice that we have. Or we're fueled by our emotions, like our emotions are so strong that will get us to do the impossible. Or through sheer willpower. So if some people have it, I don't personally have it. My motivation goes up and down, but some people has sure willpower. They decided it's done, right? And these are themes that actually pull from human design, which is a system that helps you to understand how you operate in the world and how you channel creativity, leadership, communication, self-expression, and so forth. So number one is just knowing what fuels you, whether it's, like I said, ambition, the sheer willpower, your creativity, or emotions. And number two is knowing your why. So in looser terms, it's your life purpose, right? Are you here to build a more cohesive community? Are you here to optimize processes? Are you here to bring a message? Are you here to serve the less privileged? Are you here to start a revolution? Are you here, like, if you know your why and if you know how you're fueled, then you can consistently every day make progress towards your career pivot, because you don't have to act, you don't have to force it, you just have it in you. Your why, your life purpose is so personal and so intimate to you, and with your fuel, you're born with it. You just tap into that.
I think it's about like radical transparency with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what you stand for. You start to look for relevant opportunities. You just not respond to any kind of opportunity which looks nice but doesn't reflect what you want to invest your time and effort, because your time and effort become has become more precious than it was when you were like single, 25-year-old. You have the whole time in the world.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I one of my clients has even turned down two job offers because it wasn't what she wanted to do. Like, she just knew, I wanted to do this, and the job offer is nice, it's good money, it's comfortable, but no, I'm going to turn it down. And saying no is just as powerful. Saying no to things that don't serve you, that don't light you up. But I love your concept of the radical transparency, is because at the end of the day, we have to live with ourselves, right? So the image I always go to is, if I turn 80 and if I've arthritis, or if I'm sick and I just can't move around, as I just can't get into the car and get groceries, I can't just go to the gym. Like, if I'm limited in mobility and limited in life, would I look back in my life with regret, wishing, you know what, I wish I traveled more. I wish I started my own business. I wish I did this. I wish I did that. And that's the image I always have when I go into self-doubt. It's like, no, I don't want to live till 80 and be in that state, um, losing my mind, losing my memory, and not, yeah, not having lived my life.
Yeah, actually, there is a very great book. It was written by a person who specialized in palliative care,
Mm.
and it calls something like Five Regrets at the End of the Life or something like this. And actually, those you mentioned are like top of the list. So yeah, I want to not live in my own life. I lived according to someone's expectations and all of this. So it's all about like be honest with yourself. What do you want to do? What you don't want to do, and how you like see this life. It doesn't mean that it would be easy, obviously. There is no easy way, but at least you will put energy in the direction you would like to. And with at the end of the day, I think it will return to you somehow.
Yeah, and I think that you brought a good point. Change is not easy, but you have muscles. You have creativity, you have resourcefulness, you have a network, you have your smarts, you have your way of doing things and a perspective. And if you haven't given those muscles to exercise or to you don't even know you have those muscles, then you feel like you're just living a piece of you, you know, versus okay, I didn't realize I could do this. Like this is my first podcast, to be honest, and I'm doing it. I'm doing it. It's a new muscle I'm building. Am I scared? Not really, because you're a great host. So I know I'm not big.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have anything to be scared, but it's just doing that. It's baby steps, small steps, but just use those muscles, grow those muscles, know that you have them, and use that to your advantage. Use that to your career change.
When we were preparing this podcast, we were talking also a lot about the career shift, which is was pretty popular, maybe like 5-10 years ago, but still is in top list. I was a mid-career or I don't know C-level executive, and now I want to start my own startup or any kind of like venue or entrepreneurship journey. So is it work for everyone? I mean, does every C-level executive or mid-career professional need to do this kind of career change? And Are there any kind of strategies how to prepare yourself? Because when you're working as an employee, it's like totally different vibe and responsibility. When you're working, even if you're working alone and like solo entrepreneur, but still it's totally different vibe. So how to prepare yourself? Does everyone need to try this experience, or maybe it's depends on what fuels you or what your why? Can you bring some kind of your perspective here? Because I know you work a lot with people who make this transition.
Yeah, so it is. I think the one of the biggest difference is the mindset, and the mindset is an execution. So when you're an entrepreneur, when you step out of a corporate world and you step into entrepreneurship, you become your mission. You become the face of your business. You become your business. You become the biggest fan and the true believer of that. And with that in itself, you bring a different amount of energy, a different kind of energy, a different vibe. You show up different. You show up differently. And what does that mean? It means you bring skin in the game for your vision, for your bread and butter, and you bring in opportunities. It's not about the wait and see and I don't know, let me think about it, let me ponder some more. You just go and make it happen, right? You just see things, you materialize things, and you bring things to life. You nurture things, you bring things to life. So for employees who are C-level, mid-career executives who are listening, and you want to see if entrepreneurship is your thing. I mean, it's yeah. You could do this as an exercise. You explore what your number one. Explore what your mission is. So it's like starting with your why. It could be a topic, a domain space, expertise, a social cause, a community. It could just pick one, right? Parenting, AI, health and wellness, anything. And then for the next couple weeks, see how you can build your language and your artistry around it. How you're talking about it, what's your take, what's your opinion, what are the different angles or the different perspectives of looking at it. And three, start conversations, start building a community on LinkedIn, start sharing with the world and connecting with people to add flavor to the discussion and see what takes shape. Like you might find, wow, this is a really fascinating world. And the more I get into it, the more enthusiastic and excited I am, the more ideas I have, then you're on the right track. But if you feel like, ooh, I don't know, like I don't know what to say, I don't know how to say it, but I still really want to do it, then there are ways to work around it and bring the vision through. But if you think all this is too much work, then you're probably a bit too burned out to get started. So take a break, recharge, and then come back to the exercise again.
Okay, sounds fair enough. Because it's like totally different because you're responsible for everything when you run your own business, startup or small SMB. You're responsible for everything. Yeah, you need to be like biggest fan advocate of what you're doing, and
Mhm.
I think it's very safe way to start to promoting this concept you would like to work on before you actually have put it your skin in the game, because it could be very painful, exhausting, and this helps you to secure work. And we also have talking about some kind
Sorry,
of like
sorry, Rena, can I just add one more point?
sure.
So this exercise is really about helping you to step into a new identity because it's a different you're holding space in a different way, you're pulling ideas and thoughts in a different container, so it is as much as giving it a try, but you're experiencing a new identity, and you will learn to fall in love with it, or you feel like, nah, it's not really not my thing, and that's okay. At least you tried, at least you experimented. So I also wanted to bring up the point about giving yourself the permission to step into a new identity, to step into a new space, to step into new conversations.
I like this concept of new identity. For me personally, I use different kind of like networking, studying, workshops, or books to try this kind of new identities. For example, I'm interested in some kind of subject or industry I would like to switch into, and I start to digging out. I start to find for people who are already there, talk to them during the events or listen to them in the podcast or during events or whatever, just to grab the vibe, grab the energy, and ask them some kind of not very sexy questions, which help me to understand, okay, there is a bright side and the dark side of any kind of business or role you have, because there is nothing in the world about bed of roses only. So there is always a challenge in each kind of role or profession you're choosing. So you need to be also prepared for this, I think.
Yeah, and just to extend on what you say, and the difference between talking to industry leaders and doing this exercise of stepping into identity is when you put your fingerprints and put your voice, your opinions, your signature on it. That's when you start stepping into a new identity. So, like if you gathered
Yeah,
all of that and you wrote a LinkedIn article, if you gathered all that and put in a book, or you created a course, or when you make it your own, that's when you're really stepping into a new identity versus just dabbling or experimenting or checking things
it's a
out.
very good point, because when you're doing, education, listening, and all of this, it's like safe haven, because you're not stepping in a new identity. You're just like a part of this journey, but in very invisible way. It's not your journey. So there is some like action is missing actually. So for everyone who procrastinates decision like I like to do with education or this kind of solution, so I encourage you, yeah, to try this kind of new identity. It's not so complicated, because people won't remember your failures. People only remember what they have done. That's how our brain works. So there is nothing to be scared of actually when you try new things. Just make your this kind of like workout. Okay, I train in my change muscle, identity muscle.
Yeah, and it's so important to take action, but not only just take action, is to express it in your own way, express it in your vision, express it in your words, express it in your language, in your visuals, in your and now whatever way you express. It's really about that output versus just throwing more stuff in and getting confused. It's really drawing that's always been in you, your personality, your enthusiasm, your passion, your dedication, to draw all of that out.
And what regularly keeps people back? I mean, you were talking about some kind of examples from your clients, and I know that for every person is a hard choice. I mean, accept that you would love to change something, that what you're doing today, it's not what you're like to doing, but you still continue to do it because you have like a bigger goal and there is a plan and baby steps toward it. So what normally on your experience holding back from this acceptance of this concept? Okay, I it's better for me to be guided with my why, with my values, to be driven with my fuel, even if it's the most challenging part. So, what normally holds our back and why we're trying? Okay, it's not for me. It's too complicated. I'm scared, or what?
Yeah, this fear, it's a lot of fear, right? I would say it would be fears and insecurities, right? So the fear of success. So as much as people think fear of failure is a big thing, fear of success is just as big. What if I'm really successful and I make a lot of money? What if that happens? And that freaks people out too, and that is, it's a fear. It's primal. It's a fear.
And why they're scared to be successful? Because, okay, I've spent 40 years of my life doing some kind of shit I don't like to do. And now I started to do while I was waiting all of these 40 years, or it's something different.
Yeah, like you said, like if I had known, would I have gone to college? Would I have worked so
Okay.
hard in corporate? Would I have, like, you mean I could have done this and go on vacation and make still a lot of money? So there's fears, like fears of success, fears of failures, fear of being called out as a fraud. That's what people call the imposter syndrome. Just it's a fear of being rejected. Like if you become successful, your friends and family might not like it because then you're too shiny, and or there's so many fears. So fears is definitely a part of it. And then it's also the insecurity, right? The insecurity in terms of, if I lose my regular paycheck, I'll be insecure. I'll be broke. I'll be homeless. My family will abandon me. Insecurity about, what if I get bored, right? Like intellectually, I'll just die because it's something I realized I didn't want to do anymore. So I think the two biggest things are fears and insecurities, and the comforting thing is they're universal, regardless of who I worked with and which country they are, their background, their ethnicity, their training, what occupation they're in. They're universal, and there are ways to step through them and walk through them, because, to be honest, a lot of billionaires, millionaires, entrepreneurs, everyone has some shape or form of them at some point. It's normal. It's part of being human. So you're not alone, and you can definitely step through them, the fears and the insecurities.
Okay, and we have one question from live chat. So basically, it's very, I think it's like top number one question you may receive. So, where to start or how to start?
Yeah.
I feel that something is missing, and what should I do? I mean, what should be my first step? Because the program we're discussing, it's I do believe that it works, and I know how it works. But how to start?
Yeah. So number one is to decide if you want to make a career change or not. Because I know it sounds like it's so simple or whatever, but a lot of people just want to shop. But even if they knew exactly what they could do that uses their talents, that pays the bills, that is satisfying, they wouldn't do it. They just like, well, I was just shopping. It was just for information only purposes. And just number one, make that decision. Do you want to make a career change, or are you just shopping? And it's fine if you say shopping. That's where you are today. That's totally fine. Maybe in a year's time you will revisit it and your answer would change, or maybe it wouldn't. So one, make the decision, because it is a commitment. It is a path. It is a process. It's identity shift. So if you are not ready at this moment, then don't even waste your time and energy thinking about it and dropping it and picking it up again. Okay, so let's say you decided yes, I want to make a career change.
I want to be a Jedi.
You want to be
A Jedi.
a Jedi. There you go. You want to be and number two is realize what's next is going to be actually I'm going to I have it in my newsletter this week. It's actually three smaller questions that you could ask yourself. So what's next embeds other intentions in it. So it's you're just break it down to smaller questions for yourself or get my newsletter and you get the three questions to get started. But your question might be how can I still make the same salary, or how can I work remotely? How can I like what is it that you want or you would like? And a lot of people get scared of this exercise because they feel like, oh, I'm going to sound greedy. Like I don't even know if it's possible. Maybe I should just start deleting my questions and just ignoring them. No, just put everything.
Or Google them.
Yeah, yeah. So just realizing behind what's next, there's a whole bunch of questions that's embedded in it. And I would even throw in questions of what you don't like in your current job, what you don't like in your current industry, what you don't like in terms of this working style and environment or projects, because everything gives you clues. Everything gives you, any answers that you give gives you clues to your next question or your next answer. And then three, start with the easiest question and just work your way through it.
I see here some kind of a metaphor, where when you're somewhere in the mountains and you need to cross the river and you have plenty of stones, but there is no bridge. So you're just like jumping and it's not a straightforward path, but at the end of the day, you will cross your river, but you will move something like this. So, and with these clues, as far as I understood the concept, you can understand, okay, what could be the next? I don't like this kind of environment. I don't like big corporations. Okay, I need to look for some kind of SMB, or I need to create an impact. Okay, my choice is NGO or some kind of, I don't know, sustainability project or sustainability business or whatever. So it's something like this, yeah?
Yeah, and
I mean, like an idea.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really good point. It's about turning information into insights. So you're doing a self-discovery process using insights. Like it's things that you find out about yourself. Oh, I didn't realize, but I actually really wanted to do this. Or oh, actually I work really well in this environment. I didn't realize that, but now I know I could focus on that. And it's really about just opening, unlocking those little insights until you see where your talents and your interests come all together. And then the next part would be translating it. How do you take this mental construct and translate it into a real world job or real world function or business? And that's when speaking with people who are very industry agnostic is really helpful. Because I also have heard folks that ask a lot of career advice from their colleagues, but it'll be the same industry, the same organizational hierarchy, the same.
It's a trap.
It's not really going to bring you a lot of insights because it's like, well, it's linear. Well, if you want to do this, then you go up or you go to the department next door. But when you do the translation, make sure you're in a very industry agnostic space that encompasses both the left brain and the right brain, because you might find that you were always in that traditional engineering or STEM kind of environment, but you want to do something more creative. But if you're in that marinade of that very technical, rational environment, it's hard to see what else is out there, and vice versa. If you're in a creative field and wanting to go to a technical, it's good to be in a very neutral environment.
Yeah, it's like you need to travel between different worlds or, I don't know, different planets if you are aiming a radical career shift.
Yeah, because it sometimes that industry is not very clear cut. But if you like on hindsight, it makes sense now. That's where you would look. But when you're discovering, it wouldn't be that obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're running out of the time. So one last question or I don't know, advice from you to someone who struggles with their career shift. So they understand that they would like to do it. They will try. They will sign in your newsletter. Personally, I would love to sign into your newsletter because it sounds like a very interesting one. So what would be your maybe one bold advice for those who started to go this journey, to take this journey?
To bet on yourself.
Sounds nice. I don't have anything to add. It's like perfect ending of the podcast. Oh, thank you so much, Manshi, for being with me today and with our audience. And thanks, great thanks for everyone who is watching us live or going to watch us later in the record. It was amazing 35 minutes with bunch of insights and instruments. They all may sound very easy, but the devil is that the most simple stuff works normally very good for your brain, and it's easy to have this buy-in from yourself. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.